How's it going, everyone? This is SoulSinged here, and welcome back to my weekly BattleBot video. I know I'm uploading this a few days later than usual. Things have just been kind of crazy in my life. I ended up working 4 days straight. One day I was sick, one day my grandma was sick, and the weather has been absolutely horrible down here, so yeah. And once again, I did not record my predictions, however I did circle them, which I showed at the beginning of the video, and yeah, I got 3 right and 4 wrong. So first match, we had Hydra versus Uppercut. I really only picked Uppercut because after that fight with Huge, Hydra has left a bad taste in my mouth, but it was nice to see them come out and actually fight. They just outmaneuvered Uppercut the entire time. Uppercut was never really able to get in there and do any damage. And yeah, Hydra won the fight. Fair and square. Is a pretty good match. Next up, Rusty versus Sawblaze. Not a whole lot to say here. Sawblaze obviously won the match. Obviously the better robot. But I'm really impressed that Rusty was able to survive the full 3 minutes. And I mean, it was getting beat up pretty good, and it was still fighting. He never dropped his drill hammer, which we haven't really seen. We haven't seen the weapon be used that much at all, apart from its first match. But Rusty is more competent than people would think. I honestly feel like with a little bit of work, a little bit of improvements here and there, especially some weapon improvements, and Rusty could be a pretty competent robot. You know, they obviously are not making the round of 32, but yeah, I'm pretty impressed by what Rusty pulled off this year. Next up, we have Gamma 9 versus Tantrum. I saw a lot of people picking Gamma 9. I chose Tantrum because their weapon is pretty potent. Still not sure how I feel about the whole punching weapon, how it just sits far back and punches forward. That is a good way to kind of conserve your weapon, let it really get up to full speed, and then just kind of jab. Which, again, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that yet, but, I mean, it works. It works very well. So, yeah, again, Gamma 9 looked pretty good in the fight too, but Tantrum's just a better robot. Next up, we have Endgame versus Hypershock. Again, both bots are good. Hypershock did manage to get into the round of 32. I figured they would win since that's kind of the trend they've been on. They start off bad and then become amazing toward the end of the season. But Endgame came away with the victory here, and Endgame is looking as good as ever. Next, we had Smee versus P1, and I really only chose Smee because I hadn't seen P1 fight. I don't know much about it. I really didn't know what kind of weapon they had. I didn't know if it was like a lifter or a type of flipper or what. But unlike everyone else who has seemed to be confused or taking Smee with caution because of it's such a unique design, P1 just went all out, just bullied Smee around the box and just aggressively won this match. And Smee looked better than it has in his last matches too. And I don't know how to feel about Smee. I feel like this design could work. They definitely just need to make a lot of improvements here and there. Maybe improve their spinners a little bit. Weaken the springs and the hinges so that the midsection has a little bit more give so they can actually wrap around an opponent like intended. But yeah, I don't know. I can't decide if it's a brilliant idea from Smee or if Smee's a case where it's like good in theory but not in reality. And I think Smee was also a beetle weight that they had before this one, and it apparently did very well in those categories. And I'm not sure if that can really be scaled up, because that's essentially what they've done. And yeah, I don't know how to feel about Smee. But definitely a unique design, and definitely want to see them come back and see what they can do in the future. And then Beta versus Grabot. First match, Beta did not use their hammer whatsoever. Second match, they only fired it 2 or 3 times. And this match, they went all out. They really proved that, okay, our hammer does work, which I feel like they had to do that in this match, because even if they did win, it looked... a lot of people didn't have faith in Beta, since they were being so sparing with their weapon. Like, they were scared to use their weapon. But they just went all out and just pummeled Grabot. And Grabot couldn't really do anything. And I feel kind of bad for Grabot, because in my mind, Grabot is probably the worst team this year. Mostly just because, what is it trying to do? I get that it's trying to be a grabber, but with the little grabby hands, I never saw it doing much. So again, it does seem to be fairly durable, but not a top tier opponent, so it was a pretty easy win for Beta. And then the main event, Whiplash versus Valkyrie. Now, Whiplash went into this match without the vertical disc spinner. This went with a big beefy lifter. And they won this match aggressively. Like, they showed, like, they proved in this match that you can have an impressive win without a spinner, because in American BattleBots, spinners are probably the most popular weapon. Some variation of spinner, whether it be vertical, horizontal, undercutter, full body, ring. The main majority of weapons are some form of spinner. And the next most popular weapon would be hammers. And then next would be flippers. Well, since Brocco's not it anymore, flippers have we really only have Hydra as the main flipper now. But this year we've had quite a few competent lifters, and Whiplash going without their spinner and still being as deadly as they were, that was a very impressive win. And Valkyrie was also pretty impressive too, up until their weapon broke down, which that's kind of what Whiplash wanted. They went with their very heavily armored wedge and just kept slamming into Valkyrie until they essentially broke Valkyrie's weapon, and they just bullied them around the box for the rest of the match and won it pretty easily. And Valkyrie's weapon did a lot of damage too, because and if you look closely, you could see giant gouges cut out of Whiplash's wedge. Like, if their weapon would not have broke down as quick, they would have just destroyed Whiplash's wedge and probably would have won the match themselves. So it was a really evenly matched fight. So yeah, very impressive from both of these. Now, they did reveal the top 32 at the end of this episode, but I'm going to talk about that in its own separate video, just to keep the length a little bit shorter. And yeah, that just about wraps up this video. I recently dropped a song called IDGF. You know, if you're interested in that, go check that out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.